and welcome to our live discussion, our Sunday talk. So today I want to be diving into the solar revolution that we see in 2023, where we have solar PV deployment that obviously surged for a remarkable 85%, skyrocketing from 228 gigawatt, all the way to more than 400 gigawatts. And what I want to do is just analyze those staggering figures, right? And understand as well the reason behind such an unprecedented growth. And also look at the future for solar energy. Where are we going to go? Yeah, looking at these numbers, dissecting some trends, and envisioning obviously what is the future for solar as we are moving ahead, right? Excellent. Hello, welcome. So my name is Tony Tio. So if you don't know me yet, I'm the founder here of Renewables in Africa. What we do is very simple. We raise awareness about renewables energy in the African continent, but also across the world. If you are a project developer, if you are an EPC, if you are a supplier or an investor, and you are looking to tap into Africa, to expand into it, and to have a little bit more of a presence, definitely do reach out to us because I want to show you how we can help you 10x your return on investment by combining visibility but also sales, right? So that's what I want to be doing. Yeah. And if you like this video, definitely do make sure to subscribe. So 85% search. So this is what we have seen for this week. That was actually the deployment for solar for the past year. And that was really, really, really impressive. And I thought it's important for us to dive into that and understand a little bit, right? Because if we want to have an idea how to repeat such a performance, so it's good to be able to dive into those numbers, understand them a little bit more, and move forward. Because according to the IEA, so what is the IEA? Is the International Energy Agency. So the world has actually deployed, 420 gigawatt more precisely of solar PV in 2023. Yeah, and that's an 85% increase compared to 2028. In fact, more than just not to, more than just staging that. It's better for me maybe to run a small presentation as you're accustomed to me right now, right? So because I always like to in those conversations that we are having, just to bring some facts, yeah, so that you could see and based on that we can discuss. Oh, by the way, as I'm doing that, if you have one or two questions that you want me to respond right at the end, please just let me know, and I'll be very very much delighted to be able to do so. So is it okay like that? Excellent, brilliant. That's fine. So let me now obviously run that presentation and we can have a conversation afterwards. So let me just bring that up so you can see. And what we see here, it's the first figure that I mentioned to you, right, which is presenting. And by the way, this actually graph is coming straight away from the the report, the IEA, where we could see that solar has actually jump. You can see for 228. That's a significant jump, right? If you look at the previous year before, it wasn't that substantial. Yeah. So what is explaining the fact that we have such a big jump now? This is what we're gonna be looking at. But you could see we went from 228 gigawatts all the way to 420 gigawatts, and that is impressive and massive. And if we're looking at these new capacity that has been created, so what I can tell you is a lot of it it's coming from China. Uh, uh, yeah, a lot of it is coming from China, as you imagine. It's coming as well from Europe, but also European Union and the US and India. So more specifically, what we've seen is that we have 261 gigawatt in China. So 53 gigawatt in the European Union, 32 gigawatts in the US, and 12 gigawatts in India. Yeah, and aside from India, all the above region, they saw a significant increase in the capacity addition. But as you see, China is definitely really dominating. So with 261% increase. So they went all the way, as I say, from 100 gigawatt, that's what they had in 222 to 261 gigawatt for 2023. So if I just go back to my presentation as well, so what I also wanted to show you it's the comparison of solar compared to the other sources, right? You can see that solar here was quite significant. So from 228 to 420, yeah, that was 85% increase. So how does it compare, with the other sources? So wind, we can see here, there's also a significant jump, yeah, 60%, but not as huge as solar. So we had a little bit of a decrease here on nuclear. So it went from minus 30%. So electric car, heat pump. That was just to give you a little bit of an idea. But you could see, and one thing that obviously we probably will be speaking shortly. It's everything looking at electric, right? Because there's also a big jump there. But this is not a topic of today's conversation. So we're just gonna purely and simply focus on solar. So in this case, but I wanted to show you that, right? And one thing that is important for you guys to understand is uh, there's really a dominance of China in here, right? So first of all, for people that are not used to the market, so one thing that you want to understand is, there's only 6 countries actually, 6 countries, where you have 90% of the production for solar manufacturing coming from. And out of those 6 countries, you have China alone, where you have 80% of the solar manufacturing coming from that country. So there's ultra dominance of China here. I'm probably going to be uh, looking at another episode, so sometime in the future, where we're going to be understanding. So solar manufacturing is something there that we need to be doing, because you've seen with COVID, the problem is, when China is having some issues, it seems to be, blocking the rest of the world with regard to solar, right? So that's probably one of the issue that we would have observed. But it gives you a little bit of an idea of what we were talking about here. So, and I also want to say that the India, because I also say that from all the market that I mentioned China, I mentioned the US, the EU, and I mentioned as well India. And I say that apart from those other markets, India was actually the market where there was a little bit of a slowdown, put it that way, compared to the other markets. And that was due to the decline in government auction volume, for solar PV, you know, compared to what we've seen in a precedent year. So as I'm talking about that, it's also good to understand. So how was it like, in the continent of Africa, right? So I know Africa is not driving the big growth here because the volume in the continent of Africa is still relatively small, right, compared to that. Because as I say, overall, the addition was 420 gigawatts. So how was it in the continent of Africa? So let me just show you here what you can see. It's annual solar installation. This table, this is courtesy of AFSIA, which is Association for Solar Energy. So thank you for the excellent report that they put together here. So as you could see here, we could see the progression of solar in Africa, but we can see in 2023 the addition was actually 3.7 gigawatts, right? So okay, if you're looking at in terms of the global scale, so it's low, less than 1%. That's what we've seen in the past. However, it's also important to recognize that there has been some acceleration in the continent, right? And I'm hoping that it's going to go forward, because if you look at previous year, yeah, in 2022, yes, we have 3 gigawatts, 3.7. Clearly, there was, let's say, some encouragement there that we could see, yeah, and yeah, but in this uh, growth in the continent of Africa, I would say a good 80% of it is actually coming, 79%, more precisely, that's what the report is saying, is coming from one country, and one country alone, which is South Africa, right? So dominance. I'm sure some of you would have heard about, the issue with load shedding, which is the local term utilized there for power outages. So, okay, there's a dominance here. But you can see, there was definitely a trend, you know, globally, meaning that solar was accelerating, same as well in Africa, although the volume there is still way, 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 way too low for me, looking at what the potential can be. But it is important to nevertheless do mention that. So in our conversation, it's important for us to aim to understand why we're having such yeah, sorry, before I go back there, I just wanted to show again, so some slide talking about the increase in the country of Africa. So you could see here Okay, so what the report was saying, which is AFSIA, so obviously if you want to reach out to them for more information, I'm sure they'd be happy to give you more details. But what they were doing as well, it's a comparison between the arena report, the arena figures, and also their own figures. So, but you see definitely here the increase is quite significant. Yeah, so it's important enough to note that. And on the last slide, so we're probably going to come back to that in a minute when we talking about the perspective for solar going forward. But one of the things that I say that we want to understand, so first of all, we could see, huge growth, right, in terms of solar, so for the continent. So what could explain that? Yeah, what made it possible? What made it possible in 2023 as opposed to 2022, and so on and so forth, right? And what could make it possible in future years to come? So that is what we might want to discuss in the next couple of minutes. So this explosion of deployment was actually partially made possible, by the steep decline, in solar module prices that occurred in 2023. And that was also driven by, Chinese manufacturers, right? And that's also one of the direct consequences of the crisis of COVID, that sort of was letting up the country. Because if you imagine, so when the rest of the world sort of up and up, so China still had some stringent rule regarding COVID, and that was obviously having a direct impact on the economy and more specifically also the manufacturers. And with China, having 80% of the global manufacturer, you could see the impact that it's having on the rest of the world. So that means even if you were having a project, you couldn't just do it, right? Because the manufacturer wouldn't be able to supply the panel fast enough. You could see how things were delayed. So what I suspect is that a lot of catch up actually happened in 2023, right? We're still in catch up mode. Project that could not be done before with COVID, progressively, as well that we had a global supply chain issue, progressively we sort of easing that off, right? So, and catching up with the volume. So that's for me one of the reasons I explained that. Definitely the drop in module prices, it's is a reason, but like I say, COVID as well, and catching up from the global supply chain issues as well is probably some others. But what the IEA figures should also serve as a reminder for us is that, why is the coverage of price, decline has sometimes focused on challenges, you know, but we also need to remember that definitely as much as, whenever we have decline in solar module prices, this is a big boost for the global renewable energy deployment because it actually reduces the cost of project. Because I think if you're part of the industry and then if you are a developer, you probably will know, or even if you're not a developer, you're an investor, developer, anybody who likes solar. So what you want to know is the module and also the inverter, they represent a significant portion of the cost. It depends obviously what area you're doing your project, obviously, but you could be talking to anything between 40 to 60%. Yeah. So that is very important, obviously, as well as if you're not in Asia. So shipping, it's a big part of the cost. But when those modules are actually being reduced, it has definitely a significant impact. So another aspect that I believe could explain that, because I talked already about the fact that module prices was coming down. I talked about the impact of COVID as well. I talked about the impact of the global supply chain issue. I think another aspect that could explain why we saw such a big boost is just policies. Yeah, policies in Europe to counter the impact of the Russia-Ukraine war, impact it was having on Europe, who was trying to obviously detach themselves from the influence of Russia, hence obviously boosting so their local renewable energy market translate into policies clearly focusing on accelerating this path as much as possible. That's what we have seen. That's why there has been a big jump there. So the RIA in the US with obviously the massive bill that the Biden administration did pass. You could see also an impact that he has had. And obviously, China, like I said, recovering first of all from COVID, but also China clearly it's a leader in renewables energy. So that has to be said. So with all of that, we could see why as well those number was actually being bumped up. And maybe one last quick reason why I believe as well we've seen such a big jump is just better awareness of people. I think more people, for example, would be watching me like you are just right now. So getting more interested by solar. I know that because I have just lot more requests. Yeah, a lot more government, a lot more companies want to find out about that, looking at that. If you look, for example, what happened in South Africa, if I talk about that, one of the benefits of the crisis that they were going through, people realize that they can take matter in their own hands, and because as well of the way the government has they unlock, they unshackle the industry. So people are now free to go and source their own power supply, without any cap whatsoever. So this is driving the industry, and because now solar makes sense financially, it's a no-brainer. People will go for that, right? So that's what I'm saying. This better awareness, it's what we've seen happen, and that explains as well why we've seen such a boost in solar, right? So now the question that we want to be asking, and I want you to be asking this question, right? So, what will happen going forward? What would you say? Yeah. So, drop that in comments if you like it. By the way, if you like the video, like what I'm saying, hey, just don't stop it. Just like the video. So, I'll be grateful. Or share it. Share with people that you know. So, that's great as well. So, that's how we obviously spread the word. And this is how you directly as well contributing in spreading and boosting solar, you know, across the world. But I would just say, yeah. So, what is the basic outlook going forward? What kind of capacity are we gonna see? Are we going to see? So, are we gonna repeat such an increase that we've seen past year? This year, 2024, already going forward. So, the better way to respond to that is to look at some studies that numerous organizations have done. So, I've just captured one slide in here. That's the one I actually show a little bit in advance. I was just a little bit ahead of myself. So let me just bring that up here. And what he shows in here, I think that was produced, if I'm correct, by the Solar Power Europe. They're looking at the annual capacity going forward, between 2022 and 2027. And you can see as well how it's split, distributed across the region. And you could see that if in, I think we actually read it pretty close, but even if in 2023 we've done more than what they say here, but we can see we're getting close to the 400 kilowatts, right? Gigawatts, sorry, not kilowatts. Kilowatt would be ridiculous. So gigawatts. And what you could see very clearly is that, it's just going to grow and grow and grow, right? So if we take, a leap from now, 2027, which is the 3 years from now, so we're talking about more than 600 gigawatts, right? So that is fantastic. So in another, in other words, so you know, solar is not about to slow down, guys. It's just gonna grow and grow and grow and grow and become more bigger. It won't be able to stop. Solar is going to be dominating the industry, the energy industry for the next few decades. That is my strong conviction, right? And with solar, other renewables as well. I'm not here saying that there won't be any fossil fuel or something like that. No, there will be. Yeah, let's be honest. Yeah, that's true. But solar gonna dominate more and more. Yeah. So that is a fact. And you could see that from study. In fact, any studies that you could see and find out there, you will see it's sort of going the same direction. So yes, there will be some surprises, like we've had COVID, that will slow down a little bit the pace at times, but the industry will always gonna recover. So basically, on short term, there may be some, let's say, uncertainties, noises that we could see happening, but on the long term, that is what the trajectory would be. And it brings a question very important for me, which is, if you look at that, yeah, and you could see that we're going to be talking about 600 gigawatts, by 2027, which is only 3 years from now. So the question for me that you want to be asking yourself, what are you doing or what are you going to do to be part of this industry or to take advantage of this part of this industry? I'm talking about if you are a project developer, you know, so what are you going to do? to be part of this industry, to make sure that part of this growth will actually come in as well, will could come from you because you're developing projects. If you're an investor, how are you going to position yourself? Yeah. So that again, like I said, you could tap into this pipeline and make sure that you can enjoy it and benefit from that. If you're an investor, how are you going to take advantage? You tell me. But that's the question I wanted to be asked because I've shown you where we're going. We're talking about 400 gigawatts. That was 2023 and 600 gigawatts, right? You're going to have another 200 gigawatts. That's significant. And that's going to be across the world. An investor, how are you going to take advantage of that? If you tell me a supplier, same thing. How are you positioning yourself? I said there was a domination of China here. That's fine. But at the same time as well, people would like to redistribute a little bit of card because we've had COVID. We've learned from it. I hope. So if you're a supplier, so how are you going to take advantage of that? How can you position yourself to make sure that people know what you have as a product, as a service to provide it? If you are a professional, yeah, whether you are part of the industry, you know, you want to grow with this industry, or you're outside, sitting outside, but you want to be part of it, what are you going to do? Because I've just shown you where is the trajectory, and I've shown you as well we have an 85% of a deployment. It's not about to slow down. Okay, next year we may have not 85%, but 60%, but it's still huge. It's still huge. On the long term, you can see the trajectory. How are you going to be part of it? That's the question I want to ask yourself. If you are definitely interested by this industry, if you're definitely interested, for example, by the continent of Africa, because that's one of the regions going to be deploying, because like I say, it's only less than 1%, but the potential is huge, enormous, and it's going to catch up at some point in time. How are you positioning yourself there? How are you making sure that people know who you are, what you do, and how do you make sure that you can talk to your right audience and you can engage with them? That is what I want to ask you. And that's where I'm saying if you're interested by that, and if you believe that you have something to offer that could be of value, definitely do reach out to me. Because guess what? I want to show you how you can 10x your return of investment. And yes, we've done it already for other people, and I can show you what we've done for them. I'll be more than happy and delighted to show that to you. So that is what I want to show in this video. So definitely solar is on the rise. It was a solar boom, but guess what? The solar boom is not about to stop. So it's just about you. Turning the question down to you. So are you hot enough? Are you interested enough? Are you adventurous enough, to say that I want to be part of it and I'm prepared to also grow with the industry? So that's what I had to say for today. Don't hesitate to leave your comments, leave your remark, reach out to me personally if you want to, and then share this video with people that you know, and I'll be really grateful. So that's what I had to say for today. So hoping you're gonna have a great day, and I see you next week, next Sunday. But before that, tomorrow we have the one day, one concept idea. Guys, you have a beautiful Sunday as usual, and I talk to you very soon. Take care. Bye bye.